All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another exciting episode of Under the Dome. And to quote a certain black-coated, black-hat gentleman from Raiders of the Lost Ark, what shall we talk about? What's going on today in Saints land, Sean? Anything exciting?
I heard we picked up a free agent quarterback. Old guy, but
Hey,
we'll roll the dice and take our chances.
Hey, he got 5 years, $60 million in 2006. Now he's got 2 years, $50 million. So I think he's doing pretty well.
Doing all right.
Yeah, his account is not hurting much. And Brittany's still rolling with the latest fashion, I do believe.
I could say something horribly inappropriate about Brittany, but I will not.
Please don't. I don't want to alienate what female fans that we do have. I don't want to completely alienate them.
I'm just saying, you're a guy. It's a Hall of Fame player. You play for the New Orleans Saints. You just set another record for the best completion percentage in your life. You have 3 beautiful boys, a beautiful girl. And then you get to wake up next to that every morning. Somebody is awfully lucky.
Life's pretty good.
Yeah, life is very good. Anyway.
We want to thank everyone for joining us tonight on the Under the Dome podcast. We want to thank Fan First Productions for sponsoring us. We want to invite everyone to join us and subscribe to our show on iTunes and on YouTube. And at this point in time, I want to thank and welcome our very special guests. They have a podcast of their own, and they're kind of operating behind enemy lines. They are operating from San Diego, California. And pardon the cheap shot, but what used to be Chargers land. They do a Saints podcast, in all honesty and seriousness here. They do a Saints podcast based out of San Diego, California, called the SaintCraftRadio. All one word.
Got it.
You don't add the S on Saint, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Don't add the S. SaintCraftRadio. That's who we are.
It just sounds better that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We want to welcome these guys. They haven't been on our show in quite some time. If I'm not too terribly mistaken, the last show that you guys were on was our 1-year anniversary show. Is that not correct?
It was.
So, yeah.
Yep.
I thought so.
Thank you for having us back.
The man, Rick Suarez, and also my man. I told him he needed to move down here and become a duck commander, but I guess he's just going to have to stay out there and be a seagull commander. Toots! Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Toots with an S.
Yes, with the S. It sounds better that way.
Thank you guys for having us back.
Cheers.
Last time we were here, we had just barely started our podcast, right? We had
just started up, and
you guys gave us the opportunity to join you guys, and especially on your 1 year. And we're here another year later and ready to start our season pretty soon. But first, we want to hang out with you guys and talk some free agency.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've had San Diego type weather yesterday and today here in New Orleans. It's been cold at night, highs in the 60s, bright sunshine, clear, low humidity. I've been to San Diego a couple of times, and I'll tell you what, that's some of the most beautiful weather you can imagine. Like the song goes, it never rains in Southern California. It doesn't ever seem to rain in San Diego, that's for sure.
Yeah, you guys lucky you got some good weather out there.
Yeah, I know.
Pretty bad.
This is our spring. We have 2 days or 3 days of spring. Then we have summer for 9 months.
We have like 2 or 3 days of winter.
Yeah.
You've never been to Northeast Louisiana, have you?
We have not.
We're dealing with steadily rising floodwaters. It rains everywhere else in the country, and it bottlenecks right here. But hey, it's hard to be under this much stress and look this good. Anyway, you guys are on a temporary hiatus from the season. What can everybody look forward to in the coming weeks, months, so on and so forth, from you guys as far as the St. Craft Radio podcast?
Yeah, so we live in a craft beer capital, so in addition to talking Saints football and football in general, we also have a beer element involved. We are always drinking, and we always post it on our social media at St. Craft Radio. But yeah, we did take a few weeks off after the season, get our batteries recharged.
Yeah, it's tough doing it once a week. You guys,
I mean, yeah, a lot of props that go out to you guys who actually put this out on, on YouTube and everything, and it's not easy. So this year coming up, we're gonna have some shows around the draft. Talk about the free agents once the actual free agency period starts. We tend to forget it hasn't started yet, right?
No, it hasn't officially started.
I'm still holding on for hope. I can't wait for Jimmy Graham to come back.
There you go.
I'm still waiting for some news at any minute. I don't know if you guys have heard anything yet.
Keep hope alive.
I saw it on Twitter. It says intends to sign.
Mm-hmm.
Intends to sign.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah.
I mean, and just in case he doesn't sign,
what do you got under there?
I still got my number 9, so we're good. We're good.
There you go.
Hey,
there you go.
There we go. There we go.
I've been dying to take that other jersey off. It's super hot right now.
I bet it is. I bet it is.
Sometimes you got to suffer for your craft, man.
There you go.
Yeah, I have a Raphael Bush jersey under this one too. I have to get rid of.
Well, he's gone, so you can kind of you can shuck that one. He's where did he go to? I just had that. I've been doing a running ticker all day long of all these.
It's hard to keep track of everybody.
I'm just watching people lose their mind.
That's actually the fun part.
One thing that was not hard to track and monitor is the fact that after giving, well, reportedly anyway, after giving the day yesterday to a guy that's been his teammate for, well, since 2006, so that would be 11, 12 seasons now, for the retirement of Zach Strief. Today they announced that we have renewed the contract of Drew Brees, much anticipated, for 2 years, $50 million, with $27 million guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you guys for your opinions first. What do you think the long-term ramifications of this contract are on the immediate future of the New Orleans Saints? I'll start with you, Alan.
Oh, thanks.
Since you just took a bite of something.
Y'all talking about how hard it is to do this show every Tuesday night. I just got home a little while ago, changed clothes, and I'm literally shoving food in my mouth while you guys are talking because I just haven't even had a chance to eat yet.
Okay, well, let me start with our guests. Rick, what do you think the long-term ramifications of this 2-year deal will be on the New Orleans Saints?
I think it's just one step closer to Drew Brees doing what he's been saying that he's going to do, is retire as a Saint. I think that's really where it's at, and gives us, hopefully, if he plays for the next 2 years, gives us enough time to hopefully find the right successor for him, whether it be in free agency or the draft.
I agree with that. I think it's almost definitely the case they're gonna get their next quarterback in the draft, and I would not be surprised actually if that quarterback is in this draft. I'm probably throwing something out there. It's a little wild, little far-fetched, but you've got to look at these all these meetings that they're having with Baker Mayfield, and Sean Payton really likes Baker Mayfield. And I know that Johnny Manziel comparisons out there, but there's a lot of Drew Brees and Brett Favre comparisons out there too. And I really think that the Saints are positioning themselves in a way to put together some kind of package that I have no idea how this is going to go, but some kind of package where they'll go after Mayfield if there's an opportunity. Now, if he goes in the top 5, clearly there's not. But I think if he slides past 10 into those upper teens, I think the Saints will try and make that kind of Buffalo Bills kind of move, Kansas City Chiefs kind of move with the Buffalo Bills and get up there and go get him. So if you look at this contract, now we haven't seen the numbers yet, but if you look at this contract with $27 million guaranteed, I think Loomis is looking at this and Peyton is looking at this from the standpoint of, hey, we can afford the dead money if there's dead money that comes after the 2-year deal, if Brees retires in 2 years, because our quarterback will be the quarterback that we draft, not a quarterback that we go out and get a la a Kirk Cousins or a, I don't know, who the Case Keenum. I saw got a big deal. I saw Teddy Bridgewater went to the Jets, as opposed to getting a free agent.
Bradford went to Arizona today as well.
Bradford went to Arizona. Yeah. So,
Hey, we still have Taysom Hill.
Yes, you still have Taysom Hill. You do have Taysom Hill.
There's no need to draft.
See,
he can rush the punter and be your quarterback.
Yeah.
There you go.
I believe with the way the draft salary is set up, I think for teams to make that jump up, like Alan's saying, and maybe take a shot at a Baker Mayfield, it's to me the financial benefits to, like you jump up in the draft. These guys are still in the slotted contracts. I think you're at like $20 million guaranteed in that range for 4 years with the 5th-year option and the first-round pick.
Super affordable.
It's so affordable that if we have that opportunity, and with this Drew Brees contract, to me, it's pretty much a 1-year deal, a minimal guaranteed money year 2, which is a setup for another renegotiation with that helps spread out that cap hit again. So if that's why I really feel like Alan's saying, if we have a chance to get a guy like a Baker Mayfield, as long as it's going to cost a lot, it's worth it in the long term, where you're not taking a hit in the salary cap department when, back when Sam Bradford was the last quarterback to make that big money, $60-70 million before he took a snap. I think it's worth it to take that chance now instead of passing and waiting to get a guy in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. And the one other thing I wanted to add about Mayfield, how Alan was talking about when you asked the Saints, like there's a lot of communication with Mayfield, but the same thing when you ask Mayfield, like which teams have talked to you, like the first team that comes out of his mouth, he's talking about like the Saints. Saints are like the first team that he talks about also. So there's definitely mutual interest between the two.
Absolutely.
And that's also something you want to see.
I'm going to say my piece on this, and as Alan knows, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I'm from I grew up in Oklahoma, so I'm a huge, big-time, second only to Louisiana Tech, Oklahoma Sooner fan. And we're going to have a major influx of support from everyone that I ever knew in Oklahoma if Baker Mayfield signs with the Saints. But all jokes aside, I think that all of this garbage could I'm trying to choose my words properly and correctly. All of this garbage questioning the work ethic or the professionalism of Baker Mayfield, I think it's just that. It's garbage. As far as the Kansas game, which is what everyone points at as him being a low-life, blah, 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 grabbing his crotch. You got to look at look at it in context. I'm not going to make excuses for the guy because I don't have to. All that being said, if you give me a choice between two quarterbacks, one is fiery, competitive, and ready to do all of that in defense of his team, in defense of putting his team over, I'll take it every day of the week and twice on Sunday. All the questions of his character, that's a reach at best. You can say what you want. You know, Baker Mayfield to me is the ultimate Saints quarterback, if you want to put it that way, in terms of the quarterbacks available in this draft. In my opinion, there's only two quarterbacks in this draft right now, unless I see something moving forward that I haven't seen so far. There's only two quarterbacks in this draft that are ready to step under center and be functional. I'm not talking about winning the Super Bowl, getting their team to the play. There's only two quarterbacks that are functional in this draft, and that is Baker Mayfield and Mason Rudolph, both of which just happen to be from Oklahoma. But it's all good.
Here's the thing.
I was going to actually mention Rudolph. Yeah. I like that one. If we're not able to get somebody in the first round, I mean, Rudolph is someone that we might be able to get later on.
Exactly. It depends on how it shakes out in that first 10 picks, because here's how it played out last year. Last year, the Bills were picking 10. Kansas City was at 27, just like we are this year. Kansas City traded their third-round pick, 91st overall, which I think is about where the Saints' third-round pick is, and their first-round pick this year. You could put together a similar package to get up from 27 to 10 if Mayfield slides that far. Now, if Mayfield goes to one of these early teams, obviously all bets are off. You can't get much higher than that.
Yeah.
Here's something else you got to keep in mind. The story was that Drew Brees basically chewed up and spit out Garrett Grayson in the film room. As hyper-competitive as Brees is, Brees basically made intimidated Grayson by his knowledge and experience in the film room. Peyton realized that he likes the competitiveness of Baker Mayfield. He's a little cocky. He's a little arrogant. So when Brees starts putting that on him, and people just don't understand. They look at the transition from Favre to Rodgers, from Montana to Young. Pick any other quarterback like that. They always think that he'll just learn behind a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's not how it works.
No.
Every time you read these stories, you see immediately the clash of egos, because the Hall of Fame quarterback knows this new guy here is here for one reason, that's to take my job. And when he takes my job, it's not a question of if, it's when. That's why Brady helped orchestrate that trade to San Francisco, get Garoppolo the hell out of there. He wanted him out because
Brissett
secured.
Yeah, every time that he has a bad game, every time that the offense doesn't seem to struggle, the fans murmur. The team, the media covering the team starts the story. How soon before the new quarterback comes in? How soon are we ready to make that change now? Let's just say, is Favre's time over? Is it ready for Rodgers? That talk just always goes. That's what the media does. They start those kind of stories. So you want to get a quarterback when you're at the end of your Hall of Famer's career. Think of the Baltimore Colts. I'm going way back in time here. But the Baltimore Colts in 1973 sent Johnny Unitas to San Diego and took Burt Jones. Okay? And Burt Jones was their future. You have to look at it that way. It's when you're ready to make that step to say, okay, you're done. we're done with you. And this contract is essentially, and I think Toots was right, it's essentially a 1-year guarantee that, okay, Drew, you got us to the divisional round of the playoffs, and if it wasn't for a freak play, we're in the NFC Championship game. We're that close to the Super Bowl. We're going to roll with you another year and see how you do. If you turn 40 and suddenly your body starts to break down, then we have some protection. But at the same time, we've got to plan for our future. So that's why I think the Mayfield interest is real. I think the Mayfield interest is strong. And I think if they have the opportunity, they're going to make that leap because they almost got Patrick Mahomes last year. So,
and I think if you look at what you were saying about Mahomes, that kind of goes to show you the kind of quarterback that the Saints are looking for. They're not necessarily looking for a guy who's ready to step in there. They want a guy like Mahomes who was considered a project last year. It's going to take a little bit of time, and so I think that's kind of the way the Saints are going to go. It just depends. It's like what you're saying. When do they pull that trigger and make that move? Because what you're saying is, as soon as they make that move, if it's a name like a Baker Mayfield, a big name guy that they bring in, those questions are going to persist constantly, especially if Drew has, a bad game, a couple in a row, he gets injured, so.
And then especially if you have a quarterback like Mayfield that is going to be vocal and he makes that one comment where like, oh, well, maybe it's time for me to start.
Yeah.
Because he's that type of person where he has that confidence / cockiness. It'll be amazing to watch Twitter melt when that happens.
Hyper competitive.
I'm just throwing it out there. I have no inside knowledge to this. It's just as I think about
hearsay.
Yeah, as I think about the logic behind this, because again, all it takes is one team in the top 10 to take Mayfield, or the trade does, or they can't put a trade deal together that one of those teams likes, and the Saints don't have a shot at it. And we go back to what you expect. Bring in defensive linemen, bring in a tight end, bring in a wide receiver, all those things. But I think
draft one next year.
Yeah. I think if they have a shot at a Mayfield, they're going to take it. That's going to be their big gamble. So we'll see how this works out. In the meantime, we've touched on Drew. Let's talk a little bit about, the guy who was supposed to sign with him, along with Drew, Jimmy Graham. He's going to Green Bay. And from Jimmy Graham's point of view, I can see why he did it. You're going to a system much like New Orleans' system. The fan base is very similar. It's a small market team, and you're going with another future Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. So it was really a question of money now. How much money was Green Bay going to put up versus how much money the Saints were going to put up? And at 31 years old, Graham knows he's near the end of his career. This is his last chance to get the big money deal. So he took the money. And I don't blame him for that. It's disappointing because I would have liked to have seen him in this offense. But I also understand what they did. And I know Green Bay's mentality. Green Bay needs to have some impact players again. That offense fell apart when Aaron Rodgers was out.
Yeah, it's not like Jimmy Graham went to, the Browns or name your bottom dwelling team for the money. He went to another contender. Another Hall of Fame quarterback, so, just I guess didn't have the capital or want to spend that capital right now on a tight end when, our tight ends didn't do nothing last year. We were okay. We were lacking, but I don't feel like they need that. They feel like there's that need that we need to have this price tight end to come in and become the savior.
I think they had a target dollar amount. I think it's between 6 and 8 million was their target dollar amount for Graham, which was a fair deal. And I think the Packers overspent a little just to have an impact because the fans were really disgusted with what happened last year. So I think they go near 10 million a year. So It's not that big of a deal difference, but it's significant enough. You got to look at it from Graham's point of view. I've got a plan for my future too. It makes sense for Jimmy Graham to do what he did. No. I'm just glad he's not with Atlanta.
Yes,
that was my worst nightmare.
Look at what happened to Green Bay. They had to get rid of Jordy Nelson. So if you bring in Jimmy Graham, but you get rid of Jordy Nelson, so it's like it was just a tough situation. I don't think the Saints were willing to just get involved in like a bidding war, knowing that it's going to cripple us in our offseason when it hasn't really even started yet.
Yeah, for me, the only other thing was, Graham knew what he had with the Saints. He knew what kind of numbers he was able to get with Drew. If he goes to the Packers and Aaron Rodgers gets injured again, which he now might be a off-injured quarterback, you saw how that offense looked again without Aaron Rodgers. So those numbers that he's going to be getting, no one looked good in that offense once he was gone. Once Aaron Rodgers is there, all the wide receivers looked pretty good, but once he was gone, they all seemed to disappear.
Yeah, you're right about that, and I'm curious to see how. I don't think they're going to roll with Brett Hundley again next year. It'd be interesting to see if Green Bay tries to bring in a reliable backup. I was surprised they didn't do anything last year because, honestly, as bad as Green Bay's defense was, and as limited as their offense was without Aaron Rodgers, you keep Aaron Rodgers in that team all year long, not injured. The Vikings don't win that division because I think Rodgers beats them.
Yeah.
You saw that in the second half against the Vikings in the NFC divisional round playoff game. That is what Aaron Rodgers does to them all the time. He sits there.
I didn't watch that game. What happened?
Well, I'll tell you what. I watch from about the 9-minute mark of the third quarter to about 10 seconds left. Yeah, about 10 seconds left in the fourth quarter. That's the time I really enjoy watching that game.
That was very gratifying. That amount of time that Alan was talking about until 14 seconds left.
Yeah, exactly.
But what a just makes you feel proud to be a Saints fan.
When you're watching Xavier Rhodes, who is their equivalent, I guess, to Marshawn Lattimore, but you're watching Rhodes lose his friggin' mind on the sideline because Michael Thomas is just kicking his ass all up and down the field. And that was so enjoyable. That was almost as
gratifying.
That was almost as much fun as Sean Payton in the 2009 NFC Championship game screaming about 10 men in the huddle. Throw the penalty, throw the flag. That's a penalty. 10 men on the field. It just. Oh, I'm sorry. 12 men in the huddle. 12 men in the huddle. Yeah, that was very fun.
Well, let me ask you this. We didn't get Jimmy Graham. Probably the most rumored. Put my hat back on. There's too much of a glare off my head. Probably the most rumored player connected with the New Orleans Saints below Jimmy Graham moving into this free agency period would be probably Malcolm Butler, who, as of late this evening, was signing a 5-year, I want to say $60 million contract with the Tennessee Titans. What do you guys?
$1 million.
Okay.
30 million guaranteed.
I hope he's eating out of a Denny's dumpster before it's over with. But
that's a bit redundant, isn't it?
Tell us how you really feel.
There's been several free agents in this period that have been linked with the Saints. From the guys making the visits, such as Mo Wilkerson, who today signed with the Packers, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
Damn them. Hope they burn in hell. And then there's other. Well, there's a lot of things there's a lot of things I may be called, but subtle has never been one of them. There's other players who are on this team that this free agency period is affecting as well. One of which would be Delvin Breaux, who the Saints chose not to tender. Personally, I feel like, for lack of a better way of putting it, the Saints are playing the odds here that going on 2 seasons now that Breaux has not played a snap in the league. They're banking on the fact that they can cut him loose and there's not going to be a line of people readily available to sign him to any active roster, which will then provide the Saints with an opportunity, to re-sign him at a more team-friendly price tag. What do you guys think about that?
I'm going to actually be the contrarian to that point because
contrarian, that's a big word.
I'm impressed from a Seagull commander. That's awesome.
Cheers to that. Because the Saints could have tendered Breaux at a $1.9 million contract with no draft pick compensation for other teams. So another team to sign him because he's an RFA wouldn't have to give up a draft pick. Now,
same thing they did with Willie Snead. Right?
What they did with Willie Snead. So the thing is, so if it's only going to cost you $1.9 million to get the first right of refusal to a contract that he signs with another team, if you don't even offer that, I really don't think that there's any way that he comes back. Because if another team $1.9 million is not a lot of money.
No.
So I don't see Breaux coming back, which I am a little bit disappointed in. But that's just how I read it with not getting tendered.
Personally, I think as I alluded to a moment ago, I think that Saints are at the very least they're playing the odds that there's not going to be a line of people readily willing to invest in Delvin Breaux. He didn't play last season. The season prior, he played limited snaps with a broken leg. He's damaged goods in NFL terms. I don't think it's too far out of the realm of being fair to assume that. And, it basically the way that I read it anyway, it comes down to a choice between Delvin Breaux and Willie Snead. You see the high point of potential with Willie Snead, and you see the high point potential of a player like Delvin Breaux. There's going to be a lot more people interested in trying to take Breaux away from you. Or excuse me, there's going to be a lot more people that are readily willing to take Snead off your hands than there will be Breaux. They're playing the odds to try to get Breaux back on maybe a more team-friendly deal. Alan, what do you think about that?
I have to agree with Toots on this one here. I think Breaux is pretty much done as a Saint.
I do too.
Sean wanted to trade him last year because he felt like he was milking an injury, and they found out he had a broken leg. This is a bit like Kyrie Robinson, a bit like Keenan Lewis. The Saints are just going to keep moving forward. 2015 was a long time ago in Sean Payton's mind. It's no point in holding on to a guy who will probably get injured again when you can go get a rookie, an undrafted free agent, a la Ken Crawley, to come in and do the same thing that Breaux can do for you and work with him. And he doesn't have the injury history. So
a new investment, yeah.
Yes, it's a cost benefit analysis. This is the business side. This is the ugly side of football. The business side says, listen, if I give a player 1.9 million, 2 million a year, and I can't even count on him for a game. Meanwhile, here's an undrafted rookie. Here's a drafted rookie who I have the potential to get 16 games out of for less money.
And special team.
Yeah, and play special teams for less money. I'm going with him. So I just think this is just the nature of the beast. He's not going to. You're exactly. I forgot about the special teams aspect. He's not going to play special teams for you. It was a nice story. Great comeback from broken neck. Impressive in 2015, but you haven't played football in 2 years. Essentially, it's time to move on.
Somewhere. I wish him well.
I think so too. I mean, he's a good player. I like him. I like the story, but it's just you can't.
He's not going to be with us.
Yeah, you can't. You don't have the space for him. You really don't have the space for a guy like that. It's this is the part of the business that people just don't get. It's all about moving forward, and you see one of the reasons why you saw so many trades this year, I think, is because teams are just going to keep moving forward with players, and they're going to unload potential salary problems and get draft picks for it while they can. They're not going to pay these guys because they just can't afford to do it. They're going to keep moving forward with draft picks. They're going to keep moving forward with cheaper players as much as they can. And that's the unfortunate side of the CBA agreement, where you're going to have a small minority group of people making the bulk of the money, a very tiny middle class, I guess you can call it, of fair to Midland. Think of a Craig Robertson kind of player, Craig Robertson kind of contract for a player. And then you've got your base at the bottom who are all working off that, who are working those rookie and 1 year and undrafted contracts. That's where that's got to be the base of your team. And you're going to see more and more teams doing this because that's the only way you can survive salary cap problems. You can avoid the big salary cap hell because you can't have that anymore. It's just
the average career across the board for the lowest level all the way up to your Brady's, Roethlisberger's, Breeze. The average career in the NFL right now lasts for 2.7 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago, the average career was 7-point-something seasons.
Wow. I didn't think it was that long.
10 years ago. So we're not talking about the league that Alan, I know you, these young bucks out on the West Coast there, where it never rains and the sun always shines. It's not the same league that we grew up in. It's very, very, very much a what have you done for me lately league. And it's been moving in that direction consistently and head over heelsedly in the did I invent a word?
I think you did.
I think that's a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, awesome. It's a young man's league now. It's
absolutely
despite Drew Brees and the Tom Brady's and even the Terrence Newmans who are playing into their 40s. The bulk of your roster is a young man's league. Look at the average age of the roster for the Saints. Taking out Drew Brees from that equation. What the average age of the Saints is 25, 26-year-old players.
Yeah.
It's 26.5, 26.6, something.
We talked about that last year on your show, how this team was going to become really young really quick, and we see it.
Actually, can I ask you guys a question real quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Certainly.
So do you think that what Sean was saying, that the amount of years that you're in the league, do you think that's a reflection of the rookie contract scale? Because now most of the money, the big money, is going to your veterans, which is now making the turnover so constant where you're trying to shed salary. And that's why, like Alan was saying, the base of your team is your rookies, your guys who are in on really low-level deals. But do you think because of the way the draft changed, the way they pay the players coming out, do you think that's had an effect on the longevity where, you don't have guys playing for 7 years because, you got more players coming in that are cheaper that help your salary cap and all that other stuff? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. Look, y'all mentioned earlier, Sam Bradford was the last big money first-round draft pick. Think about how many trades you've now seen in the draft compared to, say, 10, 15 years ago when nobody wanted to have the number 1 overall pick because you were committing so much money to those top players.
Not just money, years.
Yeah, and years too. You had
give up on them.
That was why you had to have so many years, because if you were going to pay, let's say the number 1 overall pick is maybe the running back out of Penn State. Okay, so you're going to pay
Barkley.
Yeah, Barker. Okay, you're going to Barkley. Sorry, you're going to pay Barkley, say $50 million. We're just going to pull a number out of thin air. $50 million over 7 years.
That's so funny because that's what Sam Bradford made in his rookie contract. It was a 6-year, $78 million guaranteed.
Right,
$50 million.
And let's say it's a Kajana Carter situation. Yep. Barkley's first year in the league, he tears his ACL. Okay, now you've got a damaged running back that you've got to pay for the next 6 years. You set your franchise back, all that stuff. Okay, because you now have a rookie contract, a rookie pool with slotted players. You now have opportunities to say, you know what? Rather than me take that number 1 overall pick, I can trade down. Someone else can trade up because they don't have to worry about that big contract, and I can start loading up with draft picks, and I can fill a whole bunch of holes on my roster. I can have a whole slew of players. So, and teams are willing to do that now because not having to eat a huge contract from those old top 10 picks.
As an old Chargers fan in San Diego, Ryan Leaf, he pretty much 8-9 years out of the franchise from doing anything because of his contract was so much, and it wasn't due to injury; it was just due to lack of talent in the NFL. And so
I don't think he got his fair chance. That's just me speaking, a non-Charger fan. I think he needed to give a little bit more opportunity. Yeah. Charger fans here, I mean, this is a whole other episode, but Charger fans are quick to judge. The organization is quick to judge. They don't give anyone a chance. Anyway.
Why don't you just bring AJ Smith back as your general manager?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, no.
You need to drink a lot. He drink after that.
I remember everything that year was Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning.
It wasn't the wrong move.
And I was I would take – I looked at the body of work. I looked at the players. I did a lot of in-depth study on it, and I said, I'll take Ryan Leaf every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
What?
Hey, really quick, though.
What's wrong with you?
Really quick, though. Were you guys excited when the Saints picked up Kajana Carter for that 1 or 2 years that we had him?
Alan,
what?
We really got Kajana Carter?
Yes, we did. In the Hazlitt years.
Kajana Carter?
Yeah, Kajana Carter. We had at the end of the Hazlitt years with 2 reconstructed knees. We had him for a little while. Yep.
Terry Allen, another favorite that.
Terry Allen. Terry Allen. But no. Here's the thing, though, that of course it's been released years after the pick was already made. But when Peyton Manning talks about in that 2006 America's Game, they talk about the interviewing of Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf, and they asked him, okay, say you're the number 1 overall pick. What's the first? This is the Colts now. You're the number 1 overall pick. What are you going to do? And Peyton Manning says, well, I want to get the playbook. I want to learn my teammates' names. I want to do this. I want to do that. And Ryan Leaf says, I'm going to get my friends and go to Vegas.
Vegas, baby.
That told you everything. That told you everything about the guy. And then, of course,
had a hell of a time, though.
Oh, I bet he did.
Yeah.
Peyton's last comment too was, and if you don't pick me number 1 overall, I'm gonna kick your ass for the next 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it just shows you the level.
And the camera immediately goes to Ryan Leaf, and he's sitting there, and he rolls the dice, and he says, "Oh hell, I crapped out."
Yeah, but physically, if you put all your measurables up, okay, height, arm strength, making all the throws, all that stuff, Ryan Leaf was ahead of Peyton Manning as far as talent.
Thank you.
So you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. You can see
I'm almost vindicated.
But
almost.
It's up here. It's up here that's never accurately measured.
That's what took Manning to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about me there, so I'm glad you finished that statement.
Yeah. And desire. You can't ever measure desire.
Yeah, Madden ratings were really low on Ryan Leaf for that one.
Yeah. But y'all made it up by drafting Drew Brees. Y'all suckered Atlanta. You got because
the Chargers did. They did.
Yeah. In 2001, you get LaDainian Tomlinson and Drew Brees. It's
Tim Dwight.
Yeah, you pass off
Tim Dwight from the Falcons in that trade.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so in that 2000, and then of course, team falls apart in 2003. So the Chargers once again draft a quarterback, and the whole Eli Manning, Ryan Leaf trade happened, and Drew Brees took it as a challenge, and he became the elite quarterback. That was his first year of really becoming the elite quarterback, and that was the year San Diego kicked the crap out of the Saints. I'll never forget that game.
That was a backward pass game, right?
Yeah, that backward pass.
That maybe it was a backward pass game because
we were there.
We were there. Yeah.
Oh God, that Aaron Brooks' career summed up in one play: the backwards pass.
It was completed. We recovered. So he completed the pass. We recovered. So,
but yeah, that's when Drew
Brooks, I love you,
to his own. So, but yeah,
the Under the Dome podcast, spreading happy memories wherever.
We can go further back. I can really bring out some ugly things. Hey, listen, y'all mentioned Snead earlier, and here's the thing about Willie Snead. I think the Saints would like to keep him if they can, because he does have the potential to be that secondary, that third receiver, the clutch third down receiver they'd like. That's why I think they tendered him as opposed to tendering Bro. Not tendering Bro. But I don't think they're going to break the bank for Snead. I think they're going to be looking for an upgrade, but not the kind of upgrade that fans really want to see. I mean, we had Jarvis Landry's rumors for a long time. Then they were interested in several other receivers, Allen Robertson. I just saw Moncrief is another one. No, the Seattle receiver. Which one? Paul Richardson, is he the one that got $40 million?
Yeah,
something ridiculous like that.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. Yeah. You Saints aren't going to pay somebody like that. They are not paying a receiver that kind of money who's not named Michael Thomas, because that's just the way they're going to structure their receiving core. They feel that a draft pick, an undrafted guy, somebody inexpensive, they can get and can do all the things they want them to do. They can coach them up. So,
how many times have Drew Brees made a wide receiver look good?
Exactly.
Today?
Well, no, they all are all relieved that he resigned. So,
absolutely. But yeah,
what I can get over, and I'm going to call out some of the Who Dat Nation here. What I don't get is 24 hours ago, they're all sitting there like, oh my God, Drew Brees hasn't signed yet. The Panthers, or excuse me, the Cardinals are giving him this offer. The Vikings are offering him this. What are we going to do? 24 hours later, these same people are sitting on social media going, we gave him what?
Yeah. You can't
doesn't
win.
Matter.
You can never win with Twitter.
It does not matter if it was 50 million. It doesn't matter if it was 100 million. It's Drew Brees. You had to have him. Stop bitching. Excuse me. Stop bitching and let's get on with football. You're not gonna be in the position that you're in unless you include into the equation Drew Brees. Recognize that and move on.
Yeah, there's no chance at a Super Bowl without Drew Brees. Period.
No.
And without a quarterback, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl without a quarterback. So, just glad he's back. But yeah,
that was the biggest free agent signing that we.
That's the one we needed, yeah. and I mean, all of our moves in the future were predicated on this deal. So, but. We've seen some guys getting overpaid. Well, it seems like they've been overpaid so far in free agency. So I don't want to see the Saints just overpay somebody just to satisfy a Saints Twitter. But, they played it smart last year. It paid off. Let's just keep,
You look at a guy like
upsetting the Saints Twitter was the way they do it last year. Let's upset them again.
Well, I was going to say, if you look at what happened last year when we signed Ted Ginn Jr. What's the first words out of people's mouth? The dude can't catch. He's going to drop his passes. Yeah, I was there too because I watched him. And I said, he probably plays special teams, be the kick returner and stuff like that, but he's not going to be an impact receiver. Well, look what happened.
Actually, it was more of those. Ted Ginn Jr. was that type of guy that he would always catch the most amazing. He would make the most amazing catches, the tough ones, but then the easy ones are the ones that's really what we were talking about.
Yeah, and what happened?
The guy that's going to drop the pen on the way to sign the contract.
Yeah.
I wanted Deshaun Jackson. That's who I wanted.
Yeah, I mean, you look at.
Thank you, Jesus, that we did not get Deshaun Jackson.
But you're going to have another Ted Ginn kind of signing in the next few days once the market kind of settles down and the first wave is over with. Because right now, honestly, today, because tomorrow may have some today as well, but today really was the doors open on Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving, and the animals are descending for the 56-inch screen flat TV
for the sales.
Yeah, exactly. They're walking out with a 72-inch screen, plasma TV right now. That's what they had to have, and that's what the Saints fans are mad about. Well, some, I'm not, but some are just pissed off because where's our flat screen TV? Well, your flat screen TV is coming because you're going to get a much better TV for your team than
you're getting that plasma TV, but you're getting the Walmart off-brand. Yep, you might end up with that one.
Yeah, and people aren't fans of that. They want to have the name brand. They want to have, because honestly, people like talking shit. Especially on Twitter. They 100%. They like having that unbelievable. They like that unbelievable team. Like, who are you going to stop? We got this guy. We got that guy. You can't throw on us. You can't run on us because we got this guy. This guy. You can't. You think you're going to double up Thomas? We'll hit you with this guy. And it's just not possible to do that.
I'll be honest. I am a splash guy. I was. 100%. I was shooting for Jimmy Graham. And if not Jimmy Graham, Butler, and if not, there are people out there that I think we should be able to sign Butler, Graham, and Moncrief, and you can't do it all. But I am one of those guys.
Hey, I thought that splash. I thought today was going to be Breeze, Graham, Butler, and Wilkerson. I thought they were going to be all four.
If you follow Saints Twitter, that's what we were all expecting.
Yeah. I mean, you really, and they had some guy come out there and say,
there was a big thing today.
Quick disclaimer to all people beyond the Under the Dome podcast. Brian Bieniemy, you can go to hell.
Oh, man.
Oh, so, okay, all right. So we're talking about the same thing. All right.
Yeah, we're calling names out. I wasn't going to drop names or anything like that.
I wasn't brave enough. So
what? I like the guy. I really like him. But the only person, my only source and the only person I'm going to trust on Twitter where there's rumors going around, I'm not Ian Rappaport. No, it's gonna be Shefty. Like if Shefty's saying something,
for the Saints, give me Nick Underhill.
Nick Underhill.
I'll say Jay Glazer.
Jay Glazer is another good one. Yeah.
Follow Jay Glazer.
Yeah, Jake. I mean, as much as I like Brian, he's not my source.
Nick Underhill and Herbie Teope.
Yeah,
and John Henry.
And I'm gonna defend Brian just a little bit here. In all honesty,
I'm not.
No, I'm not. Way too much.
That Casper bastard has become invisible today after he said, "Oh, you need to make your reservations in Atlanta today."
Yeah. Well, the intentions may have been to get all four of those guys, and reality is these guys have free will. They can go where they want to go, and we just said Graham followed the money. Clearly, Wilkerson probably did too.
Sure.
So Butler absolutely was going to. I really thought they could have got a deal going with him, but it didn't happen. But I
thought we were going to end up getting one of those guys at least.
Yeah.
Before this goes any further, in all honesty and sincerity, I make jokes about Brian Bieniemy. There's guys out there. This league is made up of basically two different types of players. Your first personality type is going to be the guy that's going to be in it for the money. He's no matter when it comes right down to it, if there's a choice to make, he's going to choose the money over everything else. And then you're going to have the other type player where they're going to choose the opportunity to be a part of something special, possibly even a Lombardi trophy. And they're going to choose that over money. And those are basically the polar opposites. In my humble opinion, Jimmy Graham is going to take the money. He sued the Saints organization several years ago. And there's a lot more to that than just simply paying lip service to that particular part of the equation. But there's guys like, not to beat it over the head or any more than it already has been, there's guys like Drew Brees who very easily could have held this team hostage and commanded every bit of what Cousins got, every bit of what the other free agent quarterbacks out there have gotten moving on to their new teams. But he chose not to. Not for himself, but for this organization. And I posted this on our Facebook page. Everybody says that there are the days of guys standing up for what they believe are over with. You want to know what one man and what one person can do to impact an organization and a group. Go back and look at Zach Strief's retirement announcement yesterday and what he had to say about Drew Brees. For anyone that thinks that one man and one person cannot impact an entire organization, look at what Zach Strief had to say about Drew Brees in his retirement speech. I didn't have a dog in the fight, and I was sitting there going,
yeah. I wasn't crying. You were.
Well,
and I'm very I get questions all. I put this on my the Facebook post. I get questions all the time. Why are you so loyal to a 39-year-old quarterback that's one hit away from being at the end of his career? You want to know why I believe in this man? Watch that video. This man isn't about lining his pockets. He's not about setting himself up. He's about impacting others' lives.
Yeah, I agree with that. You mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the average lifespan of a career lifespan of a player is about 2 point something years, 3 years essentially. So absolutely, I understand the mercenary aspect of football. Guys are going to follow the money because this is the only time they're going to make this kind of money for the majority of them. The only time they're going to make this kind of money doing anything. The NFL minimum salary is more than any of us make, easily. But so I understand going for the money, but you're right. For an individual like a Drew Brees, for an individual like a Peyton Manning, it's a culture change, okay? And he affects so many people because he is there for so long and has the opportunity to do this for people. That's why he affected, Zach Streif the way he did. Zach Streif, to me, saying the fact that he couldn't live with himself if he would have left last year without the Saints having a viable replacement for him, and then watching Drew get hit, he would never live with himself because he's like, I could have stayed and helped. Now he feels like I can walk away now because
he's okay.
The team is good. The team is going to be fine.
Awesome.
And that's a great attitude. And Streif is a rarity. He plays his entire career with one team. A long career.
Yeah. Plus, he's a part of something very special now in New Orleans.
Yep.
He's brewing craft beer out there.
I've had that Port Orleans beer, and it's pretty good beer. I like it.
I went to New Orleans in January. I got to meet him and talk to him for a few minutes, and couldn't have been a nicer guy. And we just wish him well.
Absolutely.
He'll be successful.
Absolutely.
I think that you have to absolutely respect, number one, the fact that he's played for 11, 12 full season. He's been here the entire time that Drew has. He was a 7th round draft pick in 2006. So that makes this coming up would be the 12th season. So 11 seasons that he's been here.
Well, you count the first year. You count 2006 as a year. So, 12 seasons. 12 seasons. But, hey, we forgot to talk about one other player. We did talk about Coleman last week, but the rumors about Sue, a boy named Sue, because now Wilkerson is gone, and he is going to be a Green Bay Packer. How do you guys feel about Sue as the rumored target for the Saints?
I already said I love splashes, and that guy's a big boy. He'd make a big splash.
I just think he'd be too much money, to be honest.
He'd make a hell of a splash, but he'd sink right to the bottom.
But I mean, you see the way.
Go ahead, Rick.
All right. Well, what I was gonna say is you saw when Fairley was on our team, and he's a guy that demanded 2 men to be able to block him. Without him this past year, they were able to focus on 2 men to block Rankins. Now you bring back Sue, another guy that demands 2 people blocking him. I think that it's just going to help your defensive line. Yeah, he comes with question marks, but I mean, honestly, when was the last time he really had trouble with the league? It's been a few years. If the price is right, of course. And we already know we're not going to be spending big money on Jimmy Graham and Malcolm Butler and all these other guys. He's one of the last big names out there. I'm all for it.
I'm going to go against it. Like I said, I think he's going to command too much money in the open market. He still has a lot of talent, but I just feel and that's a guy. Sue is a guy that's going to chase the money. and we've seen it. He's chased the money, so he's not gonna. He hasn't shown the willingness to go to a contender yet.
But if it was a big market for him, wouldn't we have already seen that already on Twitter?
Well, there's no market for him because he hasn't been released yet. He's going to be released tomorrow, and he's not. And that's just technically at this point just a rumor, but he's still under contract. So there's no reason to talk about him right now other than him might be released. But until tomorrow,
I would think there would still be a rumor if this person is released, look for these teams to go after him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Again, the price has to be right, but yeah.
Yeah, my concern with Sue, of course, is the penalties. Because he tends to lose his temper when he gets handled, and then that's when he starts playing dirty. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of teams know that, and if they want a cheap 15 yards, they're going to provoke him.
Just mess with him.
Get that reaction. So that's my biggest concern with Sue. Yes, the money's an issue too, but I'm worried about that. Go ahead, Sean. You're dying.
Hey, I had a simile to make.
That's a drink.
Vocabulary words, English. Let's go.
English literature term. Bonus shot. With all due respect to the nature boy, Ric Flair.
Woo!
Indomitian, y'all made me lose my train of thought. I didn't think y'all had echoed me, but
he's from out here.
He's from what?
He went to San Diego State, I believe.
No, he went to University of Minnesota.
Oh, we got to check. Oh, that's a drink for somebody.
Yeah,
that's okay. Talk me into it.
You're talking to the wrong Ulrich here. You need to talk to my brother. You're gonna start talking wrestling.
Danny, I'm here for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Anyway, with all due respect to the nature boy, Ric Flair, Indomitian Sue is the dirtiest player in the game. People all day long, I've heard people make this argument about how it doesn't matter what he is on the field as long as he's not a locker room distract. I disagree completely because it's hard to draw, especially at the professional level, it's hard to draw that line of distinction between what you get on the field and what you're getting in the locker room, because it's only a matter of time before the player on the field, crosses over into the player in the locker room. Indomitian Sue over the past several seasons, at least from my vantage point, looks to be, if not the very, at the very least, one of the dirtiest players in the game. As Alan alluded to a moment ago, when you start getting the better of him, he's gonna take the lowest common denominator, and he's gonna commit a foul, and he's gonna take shortcuts, and he's gonna hurt your team. Is the point that I'm trying to make. I don't feel like that's an element that we need to introduce onto the Saints roster. Now, in all fairness, I must be forthright in saying that I felt the exact same way about Nick Fairley when he came to the Saints a couple of years ago. I felt like he was one of the dirtiest players in the game. Going back,
he froze. Great.
Fairley became.
There he goes. Here's my thing with Fairley. I didn't think Fairley was dirty so much. I thought he was an underachiever, and I can deal with an underachiever on a prove-it contract. There's a lot of people who want the Saints to kind of have a little bit of a bad boys reputation. The kind of guys that kind of push back a little bit, get in your face a little bit. When you come to the Dome to play the Saints defense, you're going to feel it on Monday. That they kind of want that. They want that reputation, and I think Sue can give them that kind of reputation. I don't see Sue doing that. I see Sue as somebody who, like you said, takes shortcuts, gets frustrated, and commits penalties. But
at the same time, in all fairness, Sue has always played on a team where he has not had the opportunity to stand out as an individual. He has had to perform as a member of a larger unit.
Yeah.
And that being said, he's not going to take the initiative to stand out on his own the way that he would if,
The biggest problem right now, though, unfortunately, is that the defensive line market is pretty shallow.
Exactly.
So you're if you can't address defensive end or defensive tackle in free agency, you're putting a lot of emphasis on hitting it in the draft. And if we go through that scenario I brought up at the beginning of the show with you going to reach up to go get Baker Mayfield, now you're talking about not drafting defensive tackle or defensive end until day 3 because we have no second-round pick. You've burnt your first-round pick on a quarterback. You sent your third-round pick to go up and get that quarterback. That's a long time to wait to pick another player. Free agency is going to determine what the Saints do in the draft, and I understand the drive to get Sue because we need help in the defensive line. It's one of those questions where let's see what they're going to do with this. Let's see what we can do, what other options there are other than Sue. And I'm not talking about, another big name. I'm talking about a defensive lineman that may be out there that's not as well known. What are the odds of getting a guy like that?
You remember, you still got your cuts to come. You got the draft. There's still a lot to shake out. We're so early in the game right now, but I think what you're saying is true. Like, it's either if Sue goes, the market's it's thin. So you look for cuts maybe in the draft, and I think that's more to the Saints, especially for the defense. And if you want to win a Super Bowl, that's more important to get somebody in there that I think you can do the job. Maybe not a guy like Sue, but maybe a second tier free agent like we had last year come in, Okafor and all these other guys that stepped up and that got a chance to play.
They weren't the big splash,
right? But they're just guys that maybe didn't have a chance to get regular minutes, and it paid off for a few of them. So,
yeah, I mean, you're looking at a guy like now we're talking like a Sheldon Richardson, who probably isn't going to get re-signed by the Seahawks because the Seahawks are kind of in that everything must go sale. They got the red signs out. They got the red signs out on the front windows. It's 70% off everything. There's just not. I mean, Dominic Easley is somebody who could be that guy who is. People kind of forgot about because he tore his ACL last year, but his injury history, maybe somebody you can get fairly inexpensively. I mean, that's where you're starting to slide into that second and third tier as far as good players. Because I'm just looking at the market right now. The market's kind of drying up quickly. And we're not even officially in the first day of free agency. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more to come.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, just to echo a guest of ours a couple of weeks ago, our unofficial third member, Bob Rose, I think that someone that we can look at now in terms of that slot receiver is Humphreys from Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be well worth and affordable. We could probably get him for a washing machine and a subscription to Sports Illustrated.
It's still available?
I haven't heard anything on him.
Yeah. I'm looking.
But above and beyond that, who are some names of some guys that you all are familiar with that haven't been called yet that you would see possibly as an interesting alternative for the New Orleans Saints? Alan, I'll start with you.
Well, we were talking about Moncrief earlier. I'm just looking at it right now. Moncrief looks like he signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars, so he's off the market.
Yeah.
That was late this afternoon.
Yeah. Well, I threw out a couple of names already. I think receiver-wise, you're not going to see much of anything. I would throw a guy whose name you could look for as a receiver. Oh, no, he signed with the Ravens. Never mind. I was going to say Ryan Grant. He was a Tulane boy. He was a New Orleans guy, but he signed with the Ravens. He was a Redskins kind of third, fourth receiver. But
and still got 42 and some like $20 million guaranteed.
Yeah, the market for receivers is ridiculous. That really makes me think that the Saints aren't going to go after anybody big. You may see them look at a DeAnthony Thomas, who was a receiver, kick returner for the Chiefs, but you've already got him basically DeAnthony Thomas in Tommy Lee Lewis, so there's not much interest in a guy like that. I think really what you have to start looking at is linebackers. That's where I think the Saints are going to make their move, and you're going to see them target, let's say, a guy like what is his name from from the Philadelphia Eagles?
Bradham.
No, Brad. Yeah, him. No, not Vilma.
Nigel Bradham.
Nigel Bradham for Vilma.
Yeah. Yes. But he's a middle linebacker, and I can see the Saints showing some interest in him because he's a guy that kind of fits their mold, more of an intellectual linebacker. He's kind of a two-down linebacker, but in the Saints scheme, that's okay because they like to go to the big nickel a lot too with three safeties. There's a lot of flexibility you can have with a guy like that. But yeah, that somebody like that, the defensive line, you're not going to really see many pass rushers out there at all. Maybe a Trent Murphy, somebody to look at. He's another guy coming off of an injury. You could see, or a Coney Ely, someone like that, maybe, but not. I just can't see him spending big money on that. I think what they're going to end up doing is getting a couple guys, bargain guys, really. Their splash guy is going to be Breeze for the most part, unless someone really unless a big name gets cut.
I'm going to tell you guys a name to watch, a name to be aware of, unless I'm very, very, very off my rocker, which. Let's face it. Okay, y'all didn't have to laugh that much. It wasn't that big a punchline. A name that you guys can watch for future reference is a guy that we signed to a futures contract shortly after the season ended this year from Louisiana Tech, Paul Turner, wide receiver. He coming out of Louisiana Tech, he was signed to a developmental contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. He spent the entire training camp due to the fact that their entire receiving corps was on injured reserve. He spent with the Eagles, and he led them in receptions and in receiving yardage during spring training. And as luck would have it, subsequently, as the deadline for the 53-man roster neared, all of their top of the line receivers just happened to be healthy enough for Paul Turner to get cut. You are not going to find a harder working, more well-grounded, well-raised, solid background guy than Paul Turner from right here in West Monroe High School. All that being said, this kid, he's the real deal. I have no hesitation whatsoever in saying that this needs to be someone that we look at very closely in the near future. He can play any of the number one, number two slot, number 3, whatever you want to, however you want to throw it out there, Paul Turner can do it. And I think that's going to be a name that we need to be cognizant of moving forward.
We're writing it down, Sean. Paul Turner.
We have a name.
Paul Turner.
Who do you guys like?
I have a name. Well, you go ahead and go first. And
so for me, we one of the biggest needs that we need is tight end. We wanted Graham. We were maybe looking at Burton. The people that are left out there, I'm looking at Austin Safarian Jenkins, ASJ. I like what he did with the Jets last year, and I think that could be a guy that we want to have keep an eye out for.
I think what Alan was saying, I think I agree with the direction you're heading. Another name to think about, Preston Brown, inside linebacker with the Bills, huge tackler, something that we need. I felt like we need last year. I like AJ Klein and what he brings, but I think he was deficient in some areas. And then I just have a little dark horse name that I want to throw out there just to see what everybody thinks. But
LeBron James, tight end.
Close. So our tight end position was lacking. Also, third down, we were in the bottom of the league. A name to look at, just a dark horse. Antonio Gates.
Wow,
he's a guy that he knows Drew Brees.
Wow,
he wants to win a ring. He's already made his money. He's a guy that if he's on the field for 3rd and 5, he'll have a linebacker, a safety, and a cornerback covering him, and he'll still come down with the ball, sure-handed. He'll take that Willie Snead, like where we needed him last year. That's just, for me, that's a guy that. With the tight end position the way it is right now, and the Jimmy G signed and whatnot, I think that's a name that you can get for super cheap because he's chasing a ring, and he's the impact that he'll bring not only to the locker room but on the field, sure-handed, 3rd and 5.
Hunter Henry's pushing him
he's a free agent, he's a UFA. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one name that for me I would love to see him in black and gold.
Antonio Gates is a free agent right now.
Free agent.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
You already and I'll drink to that.
He's 38 years old, so that's one of the reasons why he's out there. But yeah,
but that's to say, in the situational, in the situations where this Antonio Gates is not going to play 40 snaps.
Yeah, you're not expecting him to catch over 1,000 yards,
right? But you got big downs, and he's going to command that respect from the defense. That's going to open up for other players. So not only do you have that sure-handedness, but you also have him as a kind of a decoy.
Yeah.
And I just think that would make a lot of sense to me if we don't invest in the free agent market in tight ends.
That dark horse. Yep, I like it.
Well, the tight end position is like the cornerback position. There's really nothing left out there. They picked over it pretty good. You probably could get, most of the guys you're going to get now, you're probably going to take a chance on someone with an injury history. You're not going to, age or injury history. So, again, you're looking at, you're going to wait for this first wave to pass, and you're going to kind of be picking at guys who probably aren't going to make many top 10 lists of free agents, but are going to turn out to be good players for you because they're going to fit your system better, especially guys who are looking for prove-it kind of contracts or looking for opportunities to play in these kind of, for a contender or for a system to kind of earn their money. So that's kind of where you have to start looking at the Saints in the free agents. It's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be fun. But given the way they've drafted the past couple of years, you don't really need to go sexy. You're building this team through the draft with a lot of young, quality players, and there's no reason to think it's not going to continue.
Well, Alan, you can attest to this. A year ago today, well, maybe not today, but a year ago, time-wise, we were sitting around going, what in the hell are they thinking of? Alex Okafor? he's not going to be a top of the line pass rusher. We got to have somebody to work opposite Cam Jordan. And lo and behold, God forbid, but they actually knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I think they really learned their lesson with after Jarius Byrd. Like after signing him, I think that big splash. Even though as much as I like it, I think they really learned a lot after that signing. And they're seeing it work. They're waiting for that second wave of free agents to be cut, and they go out there and they draft those guys. And now with Jeff Ireland, it seems like they've turned around the draft process and been able to do really good with drafting like the best player available. So I think they understand the process that they have, and it's working for them.
Yeah. They've finally got a good mesh of coaching and draft philosophy, and you're seeing the two combine and that's how you're getting these productive players. You're getting guys who fit the system you've designed. You design a system that takes advantage of the strengths of these players.
Yep.
And you're not just grabbing names and thinking it's plug and play. This guy got, all these interceptions in this scheme. I can just put him in our scheme and bam, it's going to be the same thing. Well, no, it doesn't work that way, And you're also taking a chance on younger players, not so much older players who've already got a lot of skins on the wall, now looking for the money. And may have an injury history like you had with a C.J. Spiller and even to a certain extent, Jarius Byrd. He was already breaking down when the Saints picked him up. So,
C.J. Spiller, did you ever see the math on that? What we actually paid C.J. Spiller for every play that he was on the field, not preseason, but game situations, we paid him something in the neighborhood of like $28,000 for every play that he lined up as a New Orleans Saint.
I was all about that signing too.
Just give me like 3 touches. I'm good.
Yeah.
No kidding, man. Give me 1 touch.
I know.
15-yard loss rush, a run for 15-yard loss, fumble. Returned by the defense for a touchdown.
And the camera zooms in for a close up, and I'm gonna be sitting there with teeth poking through my lip and looking through the ear hole of my helmet, going, "I got paid, mama."
There you go. Everybody's winning Powerball.
We want to thank both Toots and Rick for joining us tonight. As always, it's a fun time with these guys. Hopefully we won't be so long. As a matter of fact, I know that it won't be that long. It will be about a month away from now when we do our Donnie Lambert. You're gonna have to help me.
What? Donnie Lambert, second anniversary Donnie Lambert draft show.
There you go.
There we go. All right.
How did you? I make the script. How did you get it and I didn't?
I don't know. I'm just drinking regular Coke. That's why.
Well, the secret's out.
I blame the Powerade bottle.
But these guys are going to join us on our April 24th show, which will be the last show that we do prior to the NFL draft. And we're going to be doing the usual 2-hour expanded format for that show and doing a live first round mock draft. Rick, tell everyone how they can follow both you guys and Saint Craft Radio.
So you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook at SaintCraftRadio.
MySpace also.
And MySpace. It's coming back, guys. So jump on the train before everyone else jumps on it. But just follow us on that, and then you guys will be able to follow us personally. I really don't even know my Twitter handle.
All the links are on at SaintCraftRadio on all of our platforms. Same handle.
You're able to listen to us on iTunes and Spreaker.
Yeah, all those good hosting sites. So Yeah, any information you want from us, you want to check out the beers that we're drinking, the stuff that we're saying at SaintCraftRadio, and Twitter and Instagram are our most used handles that we're active on. So.
We've been in New Orleans a couple of times. Toots just was there last year, and
I was there for the Panther playoff game.
He was there for the Panthers wild card game, and you see there is a culture of craft beer brewing, pun intended, in New Orleans. So anyone that's out there that's interested in that craft beer scene, they want recommendations, or we're always listening to recommendations of what's great to taste. Hit us up, definitely.
Football and beer, that's pretty much what we do.
Goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Every time I say that, I get advertised. Maybe I just lived in the wrong part of the country.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to promote one that's my cousin's a big fan of. Gnarly Barley is a craft beer in Covington, Louisiana. I'm sorry, Hammond, Louisiana. And it's good beer. It's got a lot of unique flavors. It's a whole series of things. But look up Gnarly Barley.
Gnarly Barley.
That's another thing that we like to do. We like to interact with people who follow, and if they're you want to try San Diego beer,
we're open for trades.
We'll do stuff like that just to get share the rainbow of craft beer and that angle.
Slide into our DMs.
Why do I feel like
we had Crying Eagle from Lake Charles just recently sent us some beers. We haven't tried them out yet. We're saving them for our season start again.
Yeah, but we have some breweries out in Louisiana, especially we're out here in San Diego. There's a Houdat Nation is pretty strong, and then
Houdat Nation is strong everywhere
in Louisiana. So that's our angle on this podcast journey that we're on.
Why do I feel like everybody's getting something free out of this except us?
Hey, we will be more than happy to send you guys some tasty San Diego beer.
Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah,
as a matter of fact, we're gonna do that.
Yeah, we'll probably set that up for.
We're gonna set that up after we're done here.
Yeah, for the next time we're on your show.
Okay, well, you stay on the line. Gene Pardo is going to be right with you. We want to thank the guys from Saint Craft Radio for joining us tonight. As always, a very good guest to have. Can't wait to have you guys back. We want to thank Fan First Productions for sponsoring us. Once again, invite everyone to subscribe to our show on iTunes and on YouTube at Under the Dome Podcast. Alan, did I forget anything?
No, you nailed everything. We in about a month we have the second annual Donnie Lambert Draft Fest, where we do the first round, no trades, only first round as set up the day before the draft. And of course, next week we'll have some more free agents to talk about. I'm just kind of scanning through comments right now. People are still losing their mind. They're in deep depression because the
who else didn't we get?
Exactly. Never have seen so many of our players that we targeted go to other teams. Hey, it is what it is.
I've been holding on to this jersey for like 4 years just for the possible chance of being able to wear it again. And I thought,
there we go.
Did not think today was going to be the last day.
I still wear my Banner jersey.
I haven't seen
throwback.
Free agency
that's right.
Anticlimactic for a whole 365 days.
If I can get a Wes Chandler jersey, I'd wear a Wes Chandler jersey. There's a San Diego connection right there.
Yeah. There you go.
Wes Chandler and Chuck Muncie.
I'll wear my number 37, which is my personal number. It's got my name on it, but it's kind of like Steve Stonebreaker. So
there we go. Throwback. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. And we went way over time, but there's a lot to talk about today. So
that's what happens when you're on.
Yeah, good times when you're having fun.
That's right. So thank you guys for sticking with us for this long show, and we'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.
Nice.